Our next stop in this week-long survey of the cross is here in John 19, when Jesus, having been hung on the cross but not yet dead, has his clothes taken from him and divided up among the soldiers. I'll read in John 19, starting in verse 23. When the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they took his garments and divided them into 4 parts, 1 part for each soldier, also his tunic. But the tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. So they said to one another, "Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it to see whose it shall be." This was to fulfill the scripture which says, "They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots." So the soldiers did these things. As this begins, the work is pretty easy. 4 soldiers, they divide the clothes of Jesus 4 ways. You get some sandals, you get a shirt. But then they come to the tunic. It's kind of the grand prize, being the main piece of clothing that would have been worn or possessed by a man at this time. There's 1 tunic, but 4 soldiers. So they decide to play rock, paper, scissors for it, or at least their version of it. They cast lots. It's a game of chance. Whoever gets the longest lot wins the tunic. Now, just imagine the shame and indignity of this moment for Jesus. He's hanging on a cross, struggling to breathe, stripped naked, and he's forced to watch these men play a game for his cloak. He has given everything he is and has down to his cloak in order to love his people, and it's all treated as a game. These are the things that Jesus does to ensure that we are clothed with his righteousness, to ensure that our standing before the throne of God above is never left to a game of chance. But and the text tells us that even if these men were playing a game of chance, there was nothing chance about what they were doing. The division of Jesus' garments was the fulfillment of what had been spoken long before from David in Psalm 22:18. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. David was describing some shameful moment in his own life, but it turns out that what he experienced was a picture of something greater yet to come. Remember that in that day, referencing a psalm for an Israelite would be like referencing a popular, widely known song for us. So if I sing to you, "It's the end of the world as we know it," I think you, without thinking, would probably sing, "And I feel fine." So what the rest of this line would call to mind for God's people is Psalm 22:19. "But you, O Lord, my help, come quickly to my aid. You've rescued me from the horns of the wild oxen." Once again, even by way of unimaginable shame and indignity, Jesus is fulfilling the plans of his Father. By fulfilling the first part of that promise of Psalm 22, he ensures the second part for you and me, that God will come quickly to our aid and rescue us from the horns of our enemies, rescuing us from any indignity or shame that we face. Jesus is stripped and all alone so that you, Christian, won't ever be either. Because his clothes were divided in a game of chance, there's no chance that you will be anything other than clothed in his righteousness, delivered by the hand of God from whatever shame or indignity could befall you, even from the grave itself.